Welcome to the Corporate Training Academy Sustainable Training Series. My goal is to give you one topic each week to consider. Put it into action in your workplace, or perhaps compare with how you and your team are doing business now. I look forward to hearing your thoughts about the idea. Please leave a comment at the end of the blog. So do you use PowerPoint? Most corporate trainers do. But do you use the notes section below each slide? I find most people ignore it, or worse, it's used for content that's read off by nervous instructors. Let me suggest some ways PowerPoint notes can help you to save time, create complete training materials, and allow you to collaborate and share resources so you can make it once, use it multiple times in multiple ways. I'll show you a template I use and explain why it supports sustainable training. You can use it, adapt it, share it as you wish. As we discussed in the first of the series, sustainable training involves being able to maintain a high consistent output, making sure that you store your resources well and in a way that they can be repurposed, and that you have repeatable, efficient and effective processes and systems to support reusing and repurposing training. PowerPoint Notes for facilitators is an excellent sustainability tool, and it will make your life easier down the track. So PowerPoint Notes. Why should you care, and what's it got to do with sustainable training anyway? Let's say the HR team asks you to put together a short session on discrimination policies and procedures. Well, you know that's been done before. So you look in the folder and you find a file, and it looks like it's probably the right one. Of course, it's never alone, and there's probably lots of them that have similar names, and you've got to work out which is the version you want. So you find the file that's most likely the most recent, and you start looking through the slides. They refer to case studies and activities, which is great, except they're not there. And some of the slides don't seem to make too much sense. There's no links for legislation or internal policy, so you'll need to go and find all of those again anyway. How much easier would it be if the notes sections explained all of the activities, gave the file names for the case studies, provided links to legislation and internal policy on your intranet? That's when materials really become sustainable. You can see the whole package and understand how it's all used together. And then you can work out what you want to reuse or repackage. No wasted resources or time. And this is particularly important if your team teach or share resources across trainers. I've also noticed when PowerPoints are created to be team taught, they usually have way too many words on them so that there is no chance that the next facilitator can misinterpret the information or leave anything out. This demonstrates mistrust. Have you seen that? Have you done that? Of course, PowerPoints should just have the key point, a key graph, an image, whatever, and then humans discuss the key point. The details belong in the notes sections, not on the slide. I work in this layout of PowerPoint. You can see the click to add notes section at the bottom, and if the notes section isn't open on your screen, click on this icon at the bottom and the notes section will appear. If your notes section isn't big enough, you can drag it bigger using this line here. I advocate a formula for the notes section that everyone agrees to. In other words, a procedure all facilitators use. Of course, sometimes you won't need all of the parts, but at least it puts the idea into the facilitator's plans. Even if you're not in a position to influence all other trainers, set the example and explain your rationale. Share the ideas and the benefits. So this is how the notes section would start to look. The first thing I like to put in is timings. Sometimes a timing's really short, and I'll actually say something like it's less than a minute because I'm just using it as a place saver. So a transition to a new topic or an image that I want to show where we're up to in the day. Other times it might say 20 minutes because I want to explain that this was actually an activity that would require quite a lot of time. Critical learning points and content. This is where I usually list out the details that I would hope we would cover against this PowerPoint. Not because I'm going to provide that information, but because I want the discussion to elicit that, preferably from the people on the floor. It's also about the activities that you want to work through. So this will be where I note the file name of where I've kept the worksheet or whatever that I've been working through, and also the key points of the activity that I want to achieve. It's also where you'd put your links to research, policy, legislation, any useful information on your intranet in the hope that the link stays live even if the file stays in your filing system for some time. Application to workforce. This is really important. It's really easy to lose track of the fact that you are training within a workplace. Your job is to help people do their job better. So the content should only be in your materials if it directly relates to the business need that you're addressing. So really think about how you're going to draw that information out of your learners, and think about the context and the application of whatever's on your slide at this time. Facilitator notes. This is about learning methodology and tools. Sometimes a piece of content can be dealt with in different ways depending on how much time you've got, what resources you've got in the room, whether you're even in a training room. You might actually be in a tea room which has got very little, and then you need to get creative. So I might say something like, this PowerPoint's up, but I would also have the whiteboard over to the side, and on the whiteboard I would be scribing out what the learners are coming up with, or I might have butcher's paper and they're doing small team work, and then we're doing feedback on the whiteboard, whatever that facilitation method is. And I write this here, and it might be the next person who delivers it in a completely different way. It's really cool if they then add their way of delivering it. So you end up with a bank of options there, and the materials just get better. And contingencies or alternatives to consider. You know, stuff happens. You might have been told initially that you had 3 hours to do this training, and that might have been how it's done. All of a sudden you've got 45 minutes. You better have some ways to work with these materials and say, you know, this could be done in this way to make it last 5 minutes as opposed to 15 or whatever. And sometimes your contingency is actually about the different targets. So you might know that in your work group you've got engineers who really like to learn one way, and you've got communication experts who really like to learn a different way, or you might have an accountant who likes to learn a different way again. Think about how this can be packaged in different ways to suit those different cohorts too. Of course, the other benefit of maintaining the notes in the PowerPoint section is that when you go to a two-screen option, you'll have something like this come up. So the left-hand side will be what appears on your projector screen, and the right-hand blackened side is something like how it will appear for you on your monitor. So you can kind of keep track of everything that you need to get through. Again, I don't recommend reading it verbatim. That's not a good idea at all. However, if you can't read all of the information here on the next slide script, you can just click on this little A here, and it will make the font size significantly smaller and usually fits in. Alternatively, you can print off the slides and notes and bind them into a facilitator's guide. Just go to print and then change the settings to note pages. It probably says full page. You print double-sided to use fewer pages, of course. Perhaps you noticed that the screen captures I've used were actually the notes from this presentation, and I didn't use the suggested template that I have put forward in the notes section, and that's because this is a scripted video. The notes are actually my script to allow for timing adjustments and narrations. It also tells me exactly what I recorded in case I need to go back and change something later. I can record changes to just one slide, and I can reuse sections for other training as it's used for video purposes. So I leave you with this thought. Could someone else pick up the products you've created and use them with confidence? I know you put a lot of creativity and research into these products. Are you confident another person could open them and understand your intent? Remembering our discussion from the last video, intellectual property is more than likely owned by the business that pays you. How much time could be saved if every file you opened was complete and ready to reuse or adapt? Make it once. Use it multiple times in multiple ways. Just a cautionary note here. Novice trainers often sit in front of a computer and create PowerPoint slides full of information people need to know in order to be able to do something. But that isn't instructional design. Creating PowerPoints without going through an instructional design process is likely to lead to teaching what you think they need to know, which is a long way from creating sessions that wow staff, support learning, and improve the workplace performance. Want to know more about instructional design? I'd love for you to download the instructional design checklist for corporate trainers using ADDIE. Stay focused, save time with a bonus. Some bold stuff they don't put in textbooks, and I hope you find it useful. It's free to download, and you can sign up for Tuesday training thoughts and videos, so get involved. So how do you use PowerPoint notes? Perhaps you have another way to make sure your materials are complete and can be used by other L&D staff. Use the comment section below to share what you do now or what you think. Share the video and use it with your colleagues to debate the idea in your network. Use it any way you like. I know creating amazing targeted products and sessions in your workplace is fun, exciting and challenging. I know the high you get when a session goes well and the frustration of changing conditions and restrictive budgets. Let me help you out in whatever way I can. Let's join together and come up with some really wonderful solutions. Thank you for watching. I'm so grateful for your time, and my deepest desire is to be of service to you. Drop me an email if you want to discuss something you're working on at the moment. No doubt others have or are wrestling with similar topics. Together we can come up with some amazing ideas. So leave a comment. Bye for now.